for Congresswoman and Puerto Rican native Nydia Velázquez, who's been an advocate for storm victims over the last 2 weeks. Congresswoman, if you look at these new numbers, $350 million donated to Harvey victims, $45 million to Irma, only $9 million so far. How are we going to help our fellow Americans in Puerto Rico?
Let me just say, this is absolutely not adequate. This is a short-term relief package that will provide money for FEMA to continue the work that they're doing in terms of cleaning up the roads and bridges in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. After that, we need to come back immediately and work on a robust recovery package. The estimates are putting the losses in Puerto Rico between $85 to $90 billion. And Puerto Rico right now is facing a lack of liquidity. Today, I will be sending a letter to Secretary Mnuchin with other members of Congress asking for Treasury to set up a liquidity facility so that Puerto Rico could have access to cash.
But how do you separate things? Because Puerto Rico was already in a dire financial situation with a massive amount of debt and a broken electrical grid before the storm hit. So how do you separate the two? My understanding is that this is part of the relief effort. That is in no way represent the kind of resources that we need to put forward in order to help Puerto Rico rebuild. We have made the case before the Republican leadership. We have made the case before the Democratic leadership. On our side, they understand, and we will be doing everything we can, this is a situation that the Republican Congress and leadership must address. Then what do we do with the debts they already owed? I mean, essentially, Puerto Rico was already bankrupt before the storm happened. I mean, even if you consider the debt they owe to the banking community, investors, what do we do with that?
Well, that is for PROMESA, the oversight board, to deal with it. Obviously, there is no money right now. The tax base is decreasing dramatically. People in Puerto Rico have no electricity. They cannot draw any cash. And 90% of the Puerto Rican people do not have any access to power. So the debt restructuring will have to be put on hold, and I sent a press release yesterday telling the president that I agree with him that the debt should be forgiven. I don't know what mechanism
the president doesn't think the debt should be forgiven.
Pardon?
The president doesn't believe the debt should be forgiven.
Well, he said that for the private sector to forget about the debt. That's what he said. J.P. Morgan or one of those institutions that he mentioned. So the reality is Puerto Rico cannot pay the debt right now. The most important issue right now...
But just hold on 1 second. I just want to make sure, because I want to make sure I get this right. There's a difference between putting those debts on hold and forgiving them. What do you think is supposed to happen?
Well, as I mentioned, PROMESA and the Oversight Board is dealing with the debt restructuring. The reality that we have in front of us is that there is no way that Puerto Rico can pay the debt that they are that the public debt that they hold, because it's a matter of death and life and death, because they have to rebuild the infrastructure from transportation, bridges, roads, hospital facilities, thousands and thousands of people that lost their home. I cannot expect for anyone to think that Puerto Rico is in any position right now to pay the public debt.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your sharing your thoughts. And unless we pay attention and protect Puerto Rico, we need to be ready. We could see 3 million people move to the continental United States, and we want to protect Puerto Rico.